Yo, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is a Team JVS and Big Gold Belt media collaboration. We guys are going to be giving you reviews for The Mandalorian Season 2 moving forward. So, what's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, Sam? What's up, Lou?
Oh man, I feel like I am the collaboration between Team JVS and Big Gold Belt. This is amazing. I'm telling you. It feels like the NWO when Hulk Hogan came out with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. That's how I feel right now.
I love a good wrestling reference.
Oh, goodness. So, yeah, before we even get into this, I wanted to pick you guys' brain. We're going to be doing a full spoiler filled recap of Season 1 on Nate Drew's channel, Big Gold Belt Media. But what would you guys' feelings on Season 1 real quick before we even dive into Chapter 9?
Two things. One, I'll say that I was glad that the show was good as means of justification of having that Disney Plus subscription, number one.
Mm-hmm.
But I did enjoy it so much that I didn't even want to review it. That's where I was at with it. It was good to see good Star Wars content coming out. The last 3 movies obviously gave a lot of people mixed feelings, but it was good to get super solid. Just the quality of work, the storytelling, it being canon. It was just many reasons as a Star Wars fan to appreciate it that I was just happy to have it. And again, that's why I didn't review it. And it was just like I just like this, and I'm happy with just liking it. So overall, a good, solid first season. The viewership obviously is the money in the bank with that. But with Season 2 coming back a year later, I mean, it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, for sure, man. Lucas, what about you?
Well, for someone who does not like Star Wars, because I absolutely have like no care about Star Wars. I loved the first season of The Mandalorian. To me, it is the best piece of media that Star Wars has ever put out. Like, wow. I enjoyed this on so many levels, and it's because it's so simplistic. It's a Western. It's the old man with no name, a lot of Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and Fistful of Dollars, things of that nature. And then you throw the kid into it, and it just resonated so well that it felt like it connected with the Star Wars universe while not necessarily being overly part of it. Like at times with Star Wars, it feels like they go too far, or they ham it up. And this was the first time I saw, out of all 9 movies, this was the first piece of Star Wars live action that I saw that I didn't feel like it was being hammed up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can definitely agree to that. I mean, from a visual standpoint, like it felt like a movie production, but in terms of the way that the story was going, it felt like it was its own thing. I couldn't even really pinpoint at what point it took place until I started picking up on the references. But as far as Season 1, I really dug it. I think that's a good segue, though. Speaking of like Western, in episode 1 of Season 2, which is Chapter 9, right?
Yes, Chapter 9.
The name of this one's called The Marshal. So you got your boy from Justified, who Mondo actually intercepts while going to this Tatooine again, because just to recall back a little bit, I don't want to spoil too much about people that didn't see the end of Season 1, but you should.
It's been a year. If you haven't seen it, you deserve for it to be spoiled for you.
Yeah, and also keyword Chapter 9.
So, yeah,
exactly. So at the end of Season 1, you got the understanding that one of the Mandalorians basically alluded that there are these, Jedi that are out there that she's made a correlation to this little baby Yoda. And so she was like, it is your mandate and duty to not only be his father, but get him back to the people that the species that he's connected to. And so that was what his motivation was. And so that's where we got back to Tatooine. Before we even get to Tatooine, though, I got to show this really quick, because this is what threw me off, because I was like, wait, hold up. What is going on with this? Here it is right here. So what did you guys think about this whole setup scene? Because I thought it was actually pretty dope, but I was just curious, y'all. I was pick y'all's brain about it first.
I for a minute, I had to remember who we're dealing with here. I definitely his back is against the wall. I was like, there's no way he's getting out of this clean. But I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. We're dealing with a Mandalorian here. But beyond him actually getting out of this, the one that I really want to put emphasis on that I don't think a lot of people are really talking about is the choreography. This whole sequence was really flush. And
yeah,
I too much like Lucas' point, like I do think there's some other good live action Star Wars, but I will say like this one is the epitome of what progress or just up in the ante means. And when you see the choreography in this, it's so flush and it feels really practical that you could just tell like there's just the additional effort going into this series. And like this opening sequence was definitely like the hey, put your seatbelt on. You got a long season to go if they're delivering this already. So good action. And also, again, I think, it automatically reinvests people back into this series after a year being off, letting you know, like, look, the Mandalorian, Mando, he's nothing to mess with here. And this was like a 10-on-1 bar fight, old school Western, as you would say.
Yeah, 100%.
And he pulls out of it. And it was flush. I really was like, look, I'll be honest. When I started watching it, I was like a little bit like this, like, okay, let's see when we get into it. But then once this happened, I was like, all right, we're here now. It's time to do this.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Lucas?
Oh, it was simple. The moment the kid, because I'm not going to call him Baby Yoda, because I have been giving explicit instructions from the people at Disney and the people behind this show that his name is not Baby Yoda. So when the kid, when Mando is threatened, and then you see the kid look and hit the little thing on his cage, like, I don't want to be nowhere near what's about to happen here. It again, as Nigeria said, it was very reminiscent of old westerns I saw when the kid would go behind the bar when the old gunslinger is tested by a group of people. Also, I got to give a nice shout out to Mr. John Leguizamo, who is the main bad guy in this scene, and is as good as he was in Spawn when he was a clown. It's the same way of playing that over the top character that only he can do well. Because this character is really silly, but it's so over the top. It fits with the pacing and the style of this episode.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they set a really interesting tone, because when Mando even was trying to approach it, it was kind of like, what are these things with these creatures with these red eyes? And I was kind of just like, I love the fact that they don't waste VFX. They use a lot of practical effects. They use a lot of practical things throughout the entirety, and where a lot of the things I had issue with the prequels is the over usage of CGI and boosted amount of effects for no good reason. And this episode is a good example of that, because I was like, what are these creatures? And then, like y'all said, like the choreography and the way they even shot it, like the moment that he kind of put a gun to him, everybody had a gun to him. I was like, what is he about to do? What is really about to go down? Like you said, when the kid like closes, I was cracking up. Like I loved it. I really did love it. And I was actually sick at the time. And I was kind of barely watching. I was like, oh man, I'm into this now. I was all the way honed in at that point. But moving forward, John Leguizamo's character, he alluded that, okay, there's another Mandalorian on Tatooine. And so that's where I was kind of like, wait, where are we going with this? Because the only Mandalorian that I could think about was the OG. And so I was kind of thrown off by that. So did you guys know what he was alluding to when they even mentioned Tatooine? I'm pretty sure you did, Najir, but what were you guys' impression as soon as they mentioned Tatooine?
Here's my thing. I tried to stay away from every bit of spoilers and casting and all that other good source. And I got to say, like, there's a synonymous person being casted here. And you can only imagine what they wanted to do with this character. And obviously, one of the biggest wonders in the Star Wars universe is what is the fate of Boba Fett? It's never been confirmed his death. Sure, there's been speculation, but it's never been confirmed. And then when you cast I keep forgetting his first name, but Morris. God, why is it slipping my head right now?
Oh, what? It's my Timothy.
No. I can't think of his name, but Morrison, the guy who originally the original.
Yeah,
it'll come to me in a second. But yeah, when they went to casting, I was like, okay, we know what they're trying to do here. Then obviously with some other casting, we know exactly what we knew what these castings were going to be for. But you figure if they're bringing his name in, if they're bringing Morrison in, then they're obviously going to bring back Boba Fett. They're going to tell that story, whatever it may be. The biggest thing to me was like, that seems like a big plot element. But we're going to do this first episode. We're going to look for Boba Fett the first episode. That's what we're doing. So that was kind of the thing for me. I was thinking to myself like, oh, okay. So the rumors and then obviously the casting, and then we're doing this right away on episode 1. So okay, cool. So I wasn't totally surprised about the idea that they brought up another Mandalorian. It's just the idea that they pulled the trigger on this in the plot for this season already. So definitely cool.
Yeah. And Lucas, did you have any idea of who they were alluding to?
That is the only city I know of in Star Wars. That's it. Like I didn't fully grasp why I knew what that city was, but I was like, wait a minute, that sounds awfully familiar. I don't know how many times I've heard that city, and then it clicked. I was like, for me, the original Mandalorian. I said, so I wonder, are they going to try to pull that out? Again, as Nature said, it's amazing that they did this in the first episode, which means that they're like, we're not wasting any time like on anything here. We're going to throw it right into this. And I know at that point, it got anyone who loves Star Wars, the past movies or anything of that nature, like the hair on their arms rose up the moment that was said. And I think it was a cool moment to have.
Yeah. And just to even add to that, one thing that go ahead.
Tamara Morrison, that I could not think of his name for anything. And just to be clear, he played Jango Fett back in the day, obviously the father, and he also voiced Boba Fett in one of the old ones, the Empire Strikes
Clone
Back.
Wars. Yeah. Even in the animated joints, the Clone Wars saga, as well as the Rebel series, he also voiced Boba Fett as well, and I guess the older stormtroopers as well. But yeah, I mean, they have been alluding to, because this wasn't the first time that the Mandalorian had been to Tatooine. He had been there before, and and the last time he was there, it was almost kind of a setup. Because there was a young guy, he was trying to get a part of the guild, and the guy ended up turning coat on him, and he killed the guy. And we never knew what happened to the assassin. I think the assassin's still alive, but we don't know. But either way, when he started communicating with the Sand People, I was kind of just like, I ain't with the Sand People, man. The only thing I can think of when I think about the Sand People is what happened to Anakin's mama. I ain't never forgave them, for what happened to them.
Wow.
Like, I've been like having a hatred towards these people for a grip. And this episode, I said before, I was like, y'all better not try to make me feel empathetic or sympathetic towards this race of people. But they really did do their groundwork with showing, what they're doing, why they're there, and what their communication with the town that's right next to them. And I mean, unfortunately, I did feel sympathetic for them. Unfortunately, I did feel connected to them in a deeper way that Star Wars universe had never really dared to go into. And I was really surprised how they actually flushed out the Sand People in this specific episode, and also making a bridge connection to the town as well. Because the town, when the Mandalorian gets there, he's looking for, of course, Boba Fett. We don't know. He doesn't know who Boba Fett is. But immediately, there's this scene right here, and then you see a Mandalorian walk through, and I'm like, is that Boba? I'm like, no, there's no way. That dude's way too thin. I was like, there's part of the armor there, but there's something wrong. And that's where you got my man from the Justified. He kind of comes into the fray. And he's basically like, yeah, this isn't my armor. But he tells the story of what happened after the Empire fell and how everybody thought it peaches and rainbows, but it really wasn't. There were consequences to the actions, even for the good actions that happened. And I was curious, what did you guys think about, what's his name, Mob? What is his name? Oh, no,
Cobb.
it's Cobb.
Cobb.
Yeah, Cobb Vanth. What did y'all think about his character?
I think he's one of those ones where it's like you say, you say he hoped to run paths again. I think that's where I'm at with it. I thought for what he did in this episode, his story, his background, the knowledge, and also kind of the cohesiveness between him and Mando. I'd like to see them collab again sometime during later in the season. But for right now, I think his character absolutely is going to be a character that the fans are probably going to want to know more of. Now, sure, he's been mentioned in one of like the novels, I believe it was. So, I'm sure that's definitely happy for people who's following all the novels to see this person come to life in the live action. But for me, or just anybody else who doesn't read all the novels, then it's just one of those characters like, I hope they do more with them at some point. So I'll say a very good, solid first outing for Cobb.
Yeah. And what about you, Lucas?
It would just be good to see him brought back later on in the season. Just in a miscellaneous way, though. No, like big, we got to bring him back type thing. I think if you do it in a proper way, it could come across as really well done. So, I mean, as a character in this episode, though, it was a solid character. It's what I expected them to pull off, especially with an actor with the caliber of talent that he has. So I was expecting him to be able to pull this character off. And again, it made it an interesting character. And I think that's the key here of no matter if it's going to be a one and done, the character still has to be interesting.
Exactly.
And it makes you want to know more. I love the setup from the beginning of them showing the Death Star blowing up over and over again. And finally, to me, because again, I don't read novels, I don't do the cartoon series, I don't do any of that. So finally to point out in live action that yes, it was a beautiful moment when that happened, but that don't mean everything went to rainbows and everybody was happy and everything was peaceful from that moment on. It showed that the moment that power was taken from one, it automatically opened it up for anyone to think they could come in to a township like this and completely take over the citizens. I think that's a very Western thing to show that when the big bad falls, that does not mean it's going to be peace for everyone, because it creates a power vacuum that someone must attempt to plug.
Yep.
I will say this too. When you consider Cobb's character and then being a pseudo hero, it's a flat out hero here. Somebody at the end of this episode probably won't be too happy with somebody, wearing their armor and pretending to be them. So considering Western storytelling here, I hate to say it, but this may be a casualty for the better good of the story here. So we'll see.
Yeah, I completely agree. On both of you guys' points. I think that they introduced him pretty well. It was just, I think the thing about this series, even I noticed in the first season, they find ways of making even characters that just show up once engaging and interesting and either likable or detestable. Because there was the one episode in season 1 where the girl, he went to the planet, and that was the first time he met Gina Guerrero's Kara's character. He went to the town, and they needed his help. And it was this girl with her daughter. And I was like, this is such an interesting character. And they find ways with the storytelling to make these characters empathetic, but at the same time strong. Like, it's not like it's a cash grab. It feels like this is a real character, and there's real depth and layers to them. And I think that, having an actor like him is perfect. But I am curious to see where they're going to really kind of go with it. But to go to just kind of flow through the rest of it, getting a little man here. The town basically all of a sudden starts shaking, and you're trying to figure out, wait, what's going on? Because him and Mondo were about to be beefing. Mondo was like, look, give me that armor. This isn't your creed. Like, you need to take it off. Or I'm
take it off. I will.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, the whole town starts shaking, and you're just like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, in the sand, I was like, yo, this is about to be insane. And sure enough, like, it went through the whole town. I was like, y'all got to figure this out. And so then it came to the point where it's like everybody has to work together. Not only Mondo and Cobb, but both factions, the Sand People and the town, have to figure out how best to survive through the situation. And I thought that was really interesting. But in terms of the episode itself, what did you guys think about the episode from that platform, from that point?
So am I the only one that was like, oh, shoot, Tremors?
Hey, that's what I was about to say. I was literally about to say, oh, man, that's the first thing I thought of was Tremors the moment they saw going through the town.
Yeah, one of my biggest childhood fears is the movie Tremors, and I cannot believe they're still making them. So,
hey, where is Kevin Bacon when you need him? Like that's what.
I just think this episode did a lot for the Star Wars enthusiasts, for the Mandalorian enthusiasts, for the Baby Yoda lovers. It just did so much on so many different platforms, for so many different platforms and audience, and also able to continue the story that it wants to tell and really get everybody ready and to be invested for the season going on. So, like, you know, even with you not seeing chapters 1 through 8, or just season 1, should we say, you automatically kind of see the mindset of the Mandalorian Mando, because if you know anything about Boba Fett, then you probably think that, I mean, put it this way, if you know nothing about anything and you know about Boba Fett, because that's an iconic character in Star Wars, but everyone knows him to be a villain, you got to understand that this person is rational. He is able to take what could be a potential beef, which he had, and put it aside for the better good, to protect the child, to, you know, go about getting what he needs in the armor, in this case, in a very civilized way, helping two different species, so we say, work in unity to come in peace in killing this apex predator of this dragon here. So, like, you just get a lot with this as far as the psychology of the main character, where the story wants to go. Some paying homage to the old trilogy, and just bringing everything all together. So, like, overall, I think at that very moment when the dragon came through, was really the pivotal point of showing the viewers, like, you know, if you haven't seen anything else, this is how he operates here. He's not just some gunslinging killer of a person, or a bounty hunter where he just does his job by force, and that's it. He can be rational here, and he can make it all work so that everybody's happy on all sides, and no blood is being spread for no reason. So I think, again, at that point too, at the point of the dragon, it much like I said earlier, it was just the moment of you saying, like, all right, your seatbelt's on, let's get this season going. So it was definitely the turning point going forward.
Yeah. What about you, Lucas?
It was just a nice introduction back into this world for a first episode. I mean, to me, the goal, especially going into a sophomore season, is to give you enough in the first episode that makes you continue watching while not revealing really anything overly important with your storyline. That's the normal goal. And this episode managed to have just the amount of action that was needed, the amount of cuteness that was needed, and just the amount of tension that was needed to push the story along. Because that's all it is in this episode. And the whole goal of this episode is just to push the season along. Like, while we got the reveal of where he was going and where we thought, or who we thought would possibly be revealed in this episode, you really got nothing out of this episode. But that was the goal. All it was to continue the story and re-engage you to this character for people who, as Najir said, maybe you didn't see chapters 1 through 8. And you could pick up on chapter 9 and not feel lost. But for people who did see it, it's the reintroduction to this character, to some of his traits, Like when they talk about the droids and him not liking droids, it was just about a subtle reminder of who this character is. And I think that's what made this episode work so well, of those subtle reminders of this Mandalorian and the way he operates versus perception of the OG Mandalorian.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree with both you guys. I think the thing I've come to the realization that the first 2 episodes of season 1, I didn't know for sure. But by the end of the season, and even in this episode, like, you can tell that the Mandalorian is a natural born killer. Like, he's a natural born hunter. Like, he is designed to do this, but he's a good man. Like, it's really weird. Like, he's actually at his core a good person. Like, he cares about preservation of life, even though he's good at what he's done. He I mean, even like when Cobb was like, you know, you guys don't want to really mess with this man, because there was a situation where the people in the town were arguing with the Sand people, and then Cobb was getting involved, and Mandalorian was like, look, both of y'all need to sit down or I'll shut it down. Like, it's such a very fascinating character that I don't think any of the Star Wars movies have really had. Not honestly. Like, I think they wanted Han Solo to be that kind of character, but he wasn't. And I can't really think of any other character that is at their core good at what they're doing, whether it's killing or something else, but an amazing good person. But no, I think you're right, Lucas. Like, you technically don't have to look at any of the past 8 episodes. You can literally start right here and be like, wow, this is amazing. And then want to go back and recap everything, which is amazing storytelling. So as far as the first episode, to me, I think it was a great opening back. What will you guys rate this episode?
Oh, man.
Well, I'll say this. Number one, before we cannot end this review without definitely giving our nods to John, with this being his first episode that he's directed. So we know he's written all of them, but this is the first one he's directed. Now, I will be curious to go back and just feel if there's continuity change. Well, I don't have to go back, as you can look between this episode and the next episode, if the tone by any means just changes here. But I will say, like, you know, with this being his obviously his golden egg, him directing it just takes another step forward as to why this was so important to make sure that it got back off the ground the way it ended. And like you said, getting everybody acclimated to everything that happened all in season 1, resetting the traits for you all, reintroducing the characters, but also progressing the story. I mean, that's just good directing. The writing was always going to be good. As we've seen in all the extra content, that he legitimately cares about this franchise, cares about this story, done his research. He cares about the audience and the fan base. And like, that's a really, really particular job, considering that Star Wars fans are never happy, but
ever.
It's unanimous that everybody loves it. So, and that's just, you know, to his work. But overall, this episode was really good because it progressed the story. But as a Star Wars lover, again, seeing Boba Fett's armor was like, wow, because let's just call it for what it's worth. Regardless of just the nostalgia of it, it's Boba Fett's armor in 4K. Like, we haven't seen it into this definition, but at the same time, it's just like, wow, like, and you all can tell me how you feel about this too. When you get serious and stuff like this, it's always that loomy feel of like, oh man, like, I know it's going to be good, but it's not canon, so it's not going to matter. And the fact that this has been canon, and the fact that, you know, everything Star Wars does is canon, which means when you see something, it makes sense and it's connected, and this is it truly invests the fans. So seeing Boba Fett's armor was like the biggest, like, it was almost the first time when Vader helmet was found again. It was just like, wow, like, this is a thing. But like, seeing his armor gave me chills. But the ending was just like the boom. I'm dropping the mic right here on you all. Stay tuned for this episode too. Like, it's just really, really good. This episode is I'll just say this episode out of 10 is a 9, because obviously there's room to grow, but damn, you can't get much better than this. It did everything it needed to do for a second season, or as Lucas said, a sophomore season first episode, and really getting us back hyped, excited, and ready to watch it each and every Friday.
Yeah, I agree. Lucas, what about you? What do you rate this in closing thoughts?
8 out of 10 probably for this episode. Again, it's a setup episode, so I don't mind setup episodes, especially when you're beginning a second season where, again, you're just reintroducing the characters. It's a lot here to like. If I nitpick, clearly I could find things, but it's no need to nitpick because this show is so simple. The setup is so simple. Everything about it is simple besides the choreography of it and the direction of it. And I think that's the beauty of this show, and that's the beauty of this episode, is that it never feels too big. And that was the scary part for me going into this episode, because when you have a show and your first season, the show becomes possibly the biggest show in the world, you tend to want to introduce the second season by overdoing it, like going extremely big. And instead, they brought it right back down to earth and said, yeah, we're not going to go big here. We're going to give you a nice setup, a nice, simple story. Yes, it's going to have certain flaws, but technically, I believe it's supposed to, because it's supposed to leave you wanting more and leave you with more questions. And I think that's what this did, and it did it well.
Yeah, I completely agree, because now that leads me to believe that when the assassin was intercepted by somebody, that it may have been him, which you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but it may have been the other Mandalorian. So, I mean, there is so many added layers now that I don't know where they're going to kind of go with this, but I do love that they pose brand new issues and questions, and it's kind of like Boba. Never mind, I can't say it. I don't want to spoil it. We haven't even really talked to you guys about.
You cannot. You need to cut like a. This has got to be at this point. You got to talk about the closing scene. You got to, because.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say you spoil. This is a spoiler discussion. There's literally no reason to keep anything out.
Look, I've been trying to keep it a non-spoiler. I've been trying to keep it non-spoiler.
At this point, I hope everybody watched it. But the closing scene,
how could you keep it non-spoiler? Like,
all right, so let's just let's do it. All right, so go ahead, go for it.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say too, while it is developing more questions, it is also answering a lot of questions. And one of the biggest marvels in Star Wars was what was the fate of Boba Fett. Also, I'll say this too. There's been another marvel as to the fate of a character. Matter of fact, there's 3 marvels in all of Star Wars, 3 big ones that I think is all going to be answered this season. Boba Fett is the one I didn't even think about until this obviously came about. But Ahsoka Tano is the other one, and then obviously Darth Maul is the other one. And all of these characters are supposed to be in this season. And the fact that we already are tapping into Boba Fett's story is going to be crazy. And then that final shot at the end, after seeing him stand over armorless and looking down at Mando going by, like, look at that. That right there. If that don't give you chills, I don't know what to say. But like that is a sinister thing that's potentially going to be one of the main villains. And again, where you say Darth Maul is rumored to be in this season as well too. Like, there's a lot that's going to be happening here. And yeah, I don't know. Just again, that's the image of what was the last time of his technical fate. Of course, they said he escaped it with severe injuries or whatever, but we've never seen him since. So how did he get separated from his armor? How did he survive? What's really his beef? Obviously, he's going to want his armor back here, but like that final shot there, and the fact that you're bringing back the original actor, is just like, how can you not be happy here and get chills all at the same time? And why is this all happening? Episode 1, like, oh my god, like, it's crazy. It is crazy, yo. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, even like you said, with oh gosh, when it comes to Darth Maul, they've already executed that the Obi-Wan series is going to be happening. So whatever plays into effect with the Mandalorian, it's going to come from Rogue One, and then it's going to move forward from that point on to whatever they do with the Obi-Wan series. But I mean, there's so many things that they can do with this. It's not even funny, to be honest with you guys. And I don't know. I really don't know where it's going. I just know I'm hyped. It's hyped. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm hyped. But I don't want to geek out here. I want to talk to the bare facts. How about the way that they killed the actual dragon? What did you guys think about the whole dragon sequence in and of itself, since we're talking spoilers?
Oh, we wasn't before?
No, we won't. I won't. I was literally trying not to do spoilers, but we
start this off by saying that this is a spoiler discussion.
Nah, we ain't say nothing.
Where we did. Look, if you're here and you're watching this, you had to assume this was a spoiler discussion. I don't understand why you wouldn't think it was one. But as it pertains to them getting rid of the big sand monster, I mean, that's when I could nitpick a little bit. And it amazingly, this huge threat just seemed to be destroyed too easily and too quickly. But that's fine, because it didn't need to drag on. Who cares about this monster? But if you're gonna nitpick, you could say that it seemed to go too fast. It did the hero worship thing with Mando as he's getting eaten up, and then as the town people look on and they wonder, is our hero still alive? That's legit a commercial break from Batman in 1966. Did he survive? What's next for him? All of that felt that way. But again, it didn't, in the end, it didn't really matter, because it's just a footnote to get you on to the big reveal at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because with the way that they were trying to even execute the plan, the Sand People's plan wasn't even working from rip. Like, one of them already just straight up got eaten off rip. And then, I was kind of like, well, what happens if this thing starts burying under the ground? This thing was popping up in the mountains. Like, it was moving so fast. I was like, there's no way they're going to survive this. They need to get off this planet straight up. Like, abandon the town, just say, forget it, and, at the point that, he was like thinking about sacrificing and stuff, I was like, oh, he about to kill this thing. I straight up knew, I knew that was what was going to happen, but the way he did it was pretty dope. I mean, the fanboy in me, I was gushing. I was loving it. I can't front on that. I was actually like, yo, that's the man. But that thing was massive, dude. Like, it was so long and fast, and I was kind of just like, realistically, I don't know if y'all would have been able to stop this. Like, y'all need like some extra help to deal with this.
Yeah.
And the other thing is kind of like, and I guess it's the biggest question for Najir, how did Boba survive? How is that even possible?
I think you always got to kind of nod back to the idea that the Mandalorian armor is indestructible. So, yeah, and this is a prime example because as you can see by Exhibit A, the first Mandalorian, to everyone's knowledge, also escaped this. So it makes sense because it made sense before. So without a doubt, and they've already, they already kind of nodded towards that earlier in the episode before they even happened. It was, number one, and number two, how could you kill the main character on the first episode?
Yeah.
This isn't Attack on Titan here, they don't do that. But yeah, it just makes sense. And I think you just always got a nod to the fact that the armor is indestructible, and then there's always gadgets or some type of weaponry that was going to do it. Obviously, this was done with some with a shocker or something electric or some sort. So it worked. And much like you said, Sam, I just fanboyed after. I was like, man, that was pretty cool. And yeah, this was just a quick speed bump to the big reveal afterwards. So my childhood definitely appreciates him killing Tremors. Also, I got to bring out the sandworm from Doom as well too. So like, my childhood definitely appreciates it happening in that manner. But overall, I just thought it was visually dope. Matter of fact, my favorite part of this whole thing was when both him and Cobb both flew up together. Man, that gave me chills.
That was a dope shot. That was a dope shot. I was geeking about that too, because I was kind of like, Mondo, are you even trained in this? Like, I mean, last time we talked about this, like, you sitting there was supposed to go through procedural trainings before you get. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the weird thing was, I was like, when the word came, I was like, is Dune a part of Star Wars? Like, I legit had a question for a second. I was like, this ain't the same universe, right? Like, what? But no, it was a good first episode. I'd rate it at like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. I anything that I have would just be kind of be nitpicking or be fanboying for no good reason. But in terms of structurally,
Star Wars fan,
yeah,
you literally just described all Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Just nitpicking.
I'm not gonna go there.
No reason.
No
reason. I mean, it's some that hate this episode. I've seen them. I synced them online. They hate this episode. They hate this show. They hated the reveal at the end. I swear, it is literally like y'all can't be happy. Y'all can't be happy.
Look, this is not what this show is about. We're just here to talk about episodes. Like, y'all can take it what y'all want.
Tune in next to the show where we badmouth all you. Like, I'm just joking.
Yeah, but no, I did enjoy it, and I don't got nothing else. Looking forward to the next episode. We'll be back maybe next Sunday or next Monday. So definitely, guys, tune in. Go to the description bar below. Where can everybody find you at, Najir, and your channel?
In the description below.
Oh my God, I can't with you. And Lucas, you gonna say the same thing, aren't you?
I mean, literally. on like, come on, are we serious at this point? You can catch me on either one of these channels. Take your pick.
But anyway, you guys, we're out. This was a Team JVS and Big Old Belt Media collaboration. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.